Hey guys. Hey, Sniper. Is there a link? Did I mess up? I might have messed up here. Nope, I got a link. I'm gonna send you the link over, Sniper. There he is. I don't need to send the link. He's already here. Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How's the sound?
Sounds good. Am I echoing?
Just a little. Just on my voice.
All right, how's that sound now?
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, can't hear myself. All
Good.
good.
All right. Cat says, "Oh, hey, Night Watch is here." Um, so this is gonna be a interesting night.
Yeah, I hope so.
We've never freestyled it before.
Yeah, why not?
I know you're prepared because you've been preparing your entire lifetime.
Well, exactly that. It's all about the moment.
Hey Jane, the Jamulance is here. So bring your esoteric questions. Bring your questions about, let's say the weird, WYRD. Let's talk about the weird.
The weird and wonderful.
Hey, let me start it off. When was your first realization that things were not as they seem?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be when I was single figures. It has to be. I was very curious of the supernatural, inquisitive, and just from day one, I knew that there was more to what's on the surface. I've got relatives that are, into the psychic realm, which is never talked about in our family. But it's always respected.
I was going to say, because your grandmother,
Yeah,
you would call her a mystic, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was
Um,
the classical little old lady that would sit in the corner that would have this aura about her that you'd want to go over and speak to her, and then you'd find out that she was waiting for you to walk over there because she has something to tell you, because she's already picked up on the message, and you've picked up that she's picked up on the message,
gotcha.
and so it's that that's how it works. And I think if you are skeptical, it's a lot harder to get that connection automatically.
Right.
It's we could go to the double slit experiment to explain that one.
Night Watcher wants to know, what do you think of religion in general?
It's I would say for someone that is not religious, that they would find religion through trauma, through a deeper understanding that there was something else, and vice versa. If you were brought up religious, you would step away from religion because of trauma and what you perceive as something else, that there is something else during that trauma, which allows you to step away from the religious beliefs and you look inwards at your own spiritual path. And that happens on both sides. Someone who's agnostic, someone who's atheist, someone who's religious. They can have these traumatic events which completely shake their entire mentality of what they assumed was what.
Manifestor has a question. Let
Manny.
me just before I
Yeah.
ask that question, let everyone know whatever the stuff that we talk about with Sniper. Any questions along these lines? This is again, we're just winging it tonight. Manifestor says, "What film or TV show have you found the closest to being on point spiritually, or one that scared the living you know what out of you?"
That's a good question. I would definitely say the film They Live with Roddy Piper
Oh, well, right, and the glasses, and the
and the glasses.
longest fight scene in the history of cinematic fight scenes.
Exactly. And it was all over about someone's ego, that they wouldn't put the glasses on. That's all they had
Right,
to do was put the glasses on.
and then he saw.
And then
Really a good
once you
metaphor there.
see, you cannot unsee.
Hey, what about the
You know?
Matrix?
Yeah, the Matrix again. It kind of opens up more doors. It opens more questions. It's on many different parallels. You've got the film with Jim Carrey, where he's in the film set,
Truman Show.
Truman Show. You know, very much like how some people perceive this place. The Groundhog Day as well.
Love Groundhog Day.
It's a classic. It's that thinking outside the box that gets you thinking.
Yep. Eric Lapointe says, not a question, but a great comment. I've had very real dreams, especially last night. And in my
Yeah.
dreams, I had memories in my dreams. I felt like I was actually living another life in another dimension, and it was as real as could be.
Yeah. I would perhaps say that that's not a dream, and you've actually unlocked a fracture of the hologram.
Multidimensional beings?
Yeah, exactly. If we are of a vibration and an energy, then we can tune into pretty much anything, or anything can tune into us. Depends on what frequency we're at.
Kat says, question, I've randomly gotten mental pictures from people's thoughts and once purposeful from you. Any tips on how to develop that?
Yes. You have to, it's the emotion that goes along with it. Whether it's a happy or a sad or almost like a butterflies, which is the trigger of something new. Also try and, it might sound really weird, but maybe a smell or an aroma that comes along with that picture.
Night Watcher once asked another question. If you were religious, what religion conforms to your beliefs the most?
Well, I was Christian. I did look into Buddhism. I'm more on the lines of the Gnostic texts, but it's a combination, I think, of everything. And with that, it's a combination of none of the extremes. Because every religion has its extremity hidden in its core. Now, that core will always remain, no matter if it's a 2% or 3%, because it's written. And everything goes back to the written word. That's what all religions are dealing with, is the texts that they were given.
One of the things I love about mysticism itself is it is the truth within anything that's organized. It's the truth within any organized religion. The mystics tune in. They don't need the scriptures. They don't need the clergy. They don't need.
There's no set sermon. Yeah, you kind of almost. I think with religion, you are always in between with your higher self and source, because you're going through another entity, which is the church, or which is the mosque, or which is,
Hey,
the
what
entity.
What do you know about dream symbolism? Because Eric's talking about the dream, and it features a bear. You know anything about bear and symbolism?
Yeah, your bear is your fears, and how courageous was the bear? How fierce was the bear? If the bear was very calm, and as you say, if it was a cub, then you've overcome a fear. But if the bear is, if you're fighting this bear, then you're stepping away from whatever fear in reality is in front of you. You're not taking it head on.
So, if you're dreaming, Eric's dream, which again for him felt like an actual life, an actual reality, not a dream.
It's the emotions that you wake up with, that you've gone through the night experiencing, which it may be just as well with your eyes open and seeing it for real, because you've experienced those emotions.
Jamulance, our friend Jane says, do you think mystics pass their powers down through families?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it jumps generation. It does that for a reason. And I think from what I've my downloads myself, because I'm like, well, why isn't my parents anything like this, because it continues the cycle from a perspective where it's a completely different respect that you're getting it from your parents' parents. It's even more of it's an elder.
I was just going to say,
your parents aren't your elders.
right. seems like it's something that should be given from an elder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And same with Native American cultures.
Yeah. Same as in the saga. It was always handed from grandmother to granddaughter. And it was the granddaughter that would tell the mother.
Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the Four Agreements, Mastery of Self. His grandmother was his. Hey, Chris. Let's see, Chris. We're doing freewheeling with Squirrel Sniper. If you have any questions, mystical, esoteric, magical, extraordinary, extraterrestrial, we can touch upon that a little bit. Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think of the guest last week when she said she was given information that the grays are no longer a factor in humanity?
Now, I think it's how we have grown up to perceive what aliens actually are, or greys. We give everything a name, a group, a label. Now, until we physically see them in this realm with our own eyes, with witnesses, and we get a consensus agreement that they are small and grey, then it's a frequency that comes to us as a grey that we have been taught. So before I, before I came to my own senses, this is my own senses now. This is my own intuition. I believed in UFOs from outer space before I understood what I believe NASA is trying to achieve. Now, it's the world's most funded military corporation. And for them to hand over the space race to Elon Musk is quite a big jump.
Why do you think they did that?
Because they're getting a lot of flack, and they have been for many years. And there is another agenda now, not so much going to the moon anymore, because of course we've not been back in all these years. And the images that we have from India and China of going to the moon are animations. So it's it'll be unfair to say that that's evidence that anything has been to the moon, in my opinion. When it comes to satellites, you'll find that 98% of all Earth's communications are done by undersea cable. And there is this big fear at the moment, especially in the Middle East, that the underwater cables can be targeted, which would then create a massive blackout on information.
Hey, do you think we're polluting our galaxy? Do you think we're putting too much space junk up there and that it's going to have consequences at some point?
I don't believe there's any junk up there.
No.
That gives a little twist to it. I don't believe there's there's anything man-made up there. I don't believe we can get past low orbit, which was it's around 110,000 feet. It's where elves and sprites live, which you'll find a plasma. And sprites fire straight up. And they dissipate in a circle form, like a smoke ring, at 110,000 feet. So either there is the atmosphere gets to a point where it's so dense that plasma reacts that way, or there's something else up there.
You and I've touched upon this a few times before. Do you believe there is alien technology that has been used to make contact with us, or do you think it's strictly interdimensional?
I strictly think it's interdimensional, and they can materialize, and they have materialized, and they have been here for a very long time. They are either in the Antarctic, which is the place where we cannot go, or it is in the North Pole, another place that is not on any map anymore. So if you bring up any Google Earth, Google Map, even the Pro, you'll never find any landmass in the North Pole, just the North Circle. The Arctic Circle is what it will be called.
Gamerlance wants to know, do you believe Egyptians, this is right up your alley, do you believe Egyptians were far advanced than we know?
No. The Egyptians, they didn't build the pyramids. It was way before the Egyptians. The Egyptians came across the pyramids.
Jane also says the poles hide many secrets, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. There is
So,
an island in the North Circle called Janis Island. There is an island in the South Circle called Janis Island. Janus was a two-headed god. Hence there's two islands and two poles. Janus is the number 11, which is a gateway. Even the word 11 in heaven is a gate. Hell has two L's, which is a gate.
CC Alien says the whole planet is ancient alien AI.
Well, I believe that the electromagnetic forces that are creating a grid, a torus field, which emits from the center point, which is the North Pole. And it emits like an apple torus, like a torus, continuing from the center outwards. Now, only speculation because no one's actually been there, but from some of the old stories, like the Smoky Gods, which is a Nordic story about a father and son going on a journey to the north into the mystical lands. and they find a huge whirlpool, and they have to go down the whirlpool, and they come to this most amazing place. So there's all these stories about things in the north, and of course, I come across the Box Saga, which is to do with the language that first came from the north. With the vowels that are used in Eastern, as far away as the Eastern, which are the mystic chants of the vowels.
Hmm.
So language has managed to get itself across a very vast place, but it has taken something to split everyone up.
Eric Point says, I believe it was people before the Egyptians myself. Says I agree with Sniper on this one. Due to the crude engravings and stuff like that, stuff like this, that were not precise as the pyramids were.
Yeah.
So who were
Yeah,
the
no,
people
for
before
sure.
the Egyptians?
Yeah. Well, you have the Sumerians. We're talking the story of Inki and the Anunnaki, which the Sumerians believed were the race that created the human race. They needed a being to dig for gold. The most precious thing that we use here is gold in value.
Why is that?
The McLaren Formula One car uses a vast amount of 24 karat gold. The engine is about 4 inches from the driver's seat. Between the engine and the seat is 3 inches of gold. The heaviest part of the car, but it's one of the best materials to repel heat and vibration. So when you've got an engine that's that close to you, it's almost as like the same properties of silver. Now, you'll find in some of the Aztec buildings, the stones, they had vast amounts of silver. They used the silver, they used to create their blocks together. And in between the blocks, they would have a slit that we would put a wedge in today, a piece of wood that would put a wedge in and glue a wedge for the two pieces to stick together as they were two blocks. But they would use silver. They would pour molten silver in these grooves, and that would resonate with the same frequency as earthquakes. They wouldn't crumble.
Manny Manifestor said, and this is to who might have built the pyramids before the Egyptians. He said Atlanteans.
Well, quite possibly. The story of the Atlanteans was that they were of a very intelligent race, and they got to the point of where we probably are now.
Eric Point said Sumerians, the inventor of how we manage time. If you look at your fingers, your thumb is the counter. All the
Yep.
crevices equal 12. You have 4 fingers and 3 in between, which also equals 12.
Well, I'll give you that as well, is that there's 12 inches in a foot. And in the pyramids, there is a single stone that protrudes in the Queen's chamber. The Queen's chamber is carved. So the entire room was carved out except for this single piece of protruding stone, which is an inch. And this is a imperial inch. And it is what all of our measurements today are worked on. And the pyramid is measured within inches itself with that little, it's the key that you get in a puzzle that comes and it says, you know, this is the bit that you have to use to decode everything, you know.
He also mentioned along the lines of the gold that we were talking about. They needed
Yeah.
gold for their atmosphere because they had ruined it, and gold would help the atmosphere. But they put this in their records, written in stone,
Yeah.
from our ancestors.
Well, supposedly gold is used in propulsion for interdimensional travel. This is why it was so important at the time that they needed beings with digits. These digits were able to dig. You know? And they tried different things. They tried mixing man with different animals. We have, you know, the Minotaur story. We have the Pan story, man and goat. We have the man and horse.
Hey, do you believe that we have that either humans in general have alien blood, or that some might? That there's hybrid human. I think
I
Cece
think,
talked about this
yeah,
before.
I think we have, you know, I did think at a time that we have purposely been screened to look for this blood. There has been many agendas to look for, you know, for many different reasons that we need a blood test. Even going back to, you know, looking into your heritage for DNA. I'd be very wary these days. Maybe 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been as wary. But now, you know, if you're purposely giving your DNA to a third company that has the ability to sell on that, I think, you know, they're looking too deep for some reason. Now, some say it's, oh, they're looking for Christ's blood, you know, the line of Christ. I think that's just a cover story. I think they're looking for a a specific bloodline. And I think it does go all the way back to the Sumerians.
Um, Fred Chambers says that we are the aliens, and Eric Lapointe pretty much concurs. Says, I believe we're all hybrids in this particular dimension.
Well, it's taken many generations, and I think with the terrain that we've been abandoned to, that changes our own looks, you know, from where we are cultivated in the world. Even though that we have the same blood, and if we have the same blood type, it doesn't matter what race or religion the blood comes from, if it's clean blood and it's the same blood type.
Have you had any, for lack of a better description, let's call it a close encounter? Have you had any, or
Now, we're not on any herbalistic medicine, I should say. I have seen many things that I can only put out as lights in the sky. And they range from shooting stars to lights that are stationary but have a glow to them like a pulse. And after a certain amount of pulses, it's as if they move away from you and not up, not down, not across, but directly away. So this bright light is then almost, you can still see it, but it's getting dimmer and dimmer, and then it's gone. But it's never moved out of the focus of where you're looking. So it's as if something has managed to catch your attention for you to be able to see it for those 5 seconds before it disappears out of the entire sky. And there's no stars around it. It's happened a few times.
well, Fred Chambers has a theory that the Earth travels millions of miles and landed here. So spaceship Earth.
Spaceship Earth. Well, many stories. I believe one of the earliest stories were the story of the moon. I believe it was the ancient Aztecs. It was, you have the Aztecs and their elder generation of the Aztecs. Now, the Aztecs, their own story of where they came from. They came from the deluge, which what is in the Bible as the flood. And their ancestors that came out of the flood, they then worshipped the rainbow. Because it was the flood was a permanent vapor canopy that remained in the sky, which amplified the night's sky like a magnifying glass. So the moon would have been maybe twice as big, maybe 3 times as big. Everything was done on a lunar calendar. All their records and their calendars were all done by a one rotation of the stars. Not a sun count. It wasn't a day count, because the sun was never visible until the deluge, which created the rainbow. But before then, there was never the rainbow because there was no seasons, there was no rain. Supposedly at night, the canopy dropped. So everyone needed to go underground because it was like a a, a, a fog, a very deep, wet fog. And it created an atmosphere where everything was much bigger. Gigantic, in fact.
Eric,
So a lot of
Eric,
people would need to live underground anyway.
right. Eric
But
Lapointe says,
this is just a a story yet again. We've got no proven facts other than some remains of large fossils of fauna that are 15 times the size of what they are now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Eric Lapointe says, in this dimension, I believe this is true, but our brains were not developed enough to understand true interdimensional space, understanding as design, but we are learning time can't be measured. Time is not measured, it's perceived, and we're on a loop that's all happening at the same time, past and future.
Yep. Well, I believe we are not living on a linear existence. We are living in a cylindrical timeline. We always say that history repeats itself, and we'll never learn from our mistakes when it comes to history. That's because it's written within the code. It has to happen. And I think a lot of these films that we perceive as pre-programming, I think they could be the fact that we are actually writing the scripts because we already know the scripts from previously. And so the creators of these films and movies are just absorbing the information that's already here, that's already been.
Manifestor says, Yogi saw what I believed was a huge portal when 18, but was a portal for craft. And when at solstice at Stonehenge, I saw a tic tac craft. It was like a mirror, just almost not moving, but was ever so slowly. And I heard a broadcast from the Shekana. Did I get that right? Rose from the Blu-rays, and she was exactly the same what I saw.
Well, again, it may be a frequency that you both picked up on. And of course, if other people are around you and they're not on the same frequency, they're certainly not going to experience the same thing as you did. You can have 10 people witness the same thing, and they all give you different descriptions of what they saw. That's because not everyone is on the same frequency.
So speaking of frequencies and a slightly different shift, and I got to be careful. We got to be careful treading around this.
Yeah.
Machine elves.
Machine elves. Gremlins.
Any experiences?
With gremlins? Not so much. There is this thing that I have had, and it was when I was first looking into some quite dark stuff dark as in, I wouldn't say it's forbidden, but when you're looking, especially in the Cabal, you then have to go into the clipothic realm. You can't look at just one thing and go, yeah, let's all, we'll do this bit and we won't do that bit, because that's not how it works. Because you've just picked a side. You can't have one without the other. So this is the thing about using the tree of life. You have to realize the tree of life is booby traps with the clipothic realm in mind.
I did want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But
It's quite deep, and I know it will be quite touchy for a lot of people, because they
right,
may call themselves white witches or light
Kabbalist,
healers.
Kabbalist.
It's yeah. Um,
Um,
but if you haven't looked at it yourself, then there is the lesson. That's the reason why this frequency is not resonating when I say some things, is because it's not looked into for that reason. But you have to realize everything is for the greater good. There is no good and there is no evil. It is a combination of both. It's how you react to it.
touching on the machine elves again. Common experience to those who have licked the toad. And they always have the very intense. They always have these wonderful messages of "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." But it can be almost too intense.
Yeah.
My one experience licking the toad, um, and a tremendous act of will when I found myself disintegrating, not just bodily, but everything. And I heard this faint echo of machine elves, and I was never before really that frightened before. But in that developing nothingness, there was fear, and
Yeah.
it was like I gathered everything back
That
to
was
bring
the
myself
first
back.
test. The first
Never licked
test.
again. Never
No.
licked again.
Well, I think my first ever time I had that experience, I foolishly attempted it in the wrong setting. And it's all about the setting. It was a summer evening on the roof of a pub in Brixton. Okay, so it's not a woodland with a fireplace, but it was a summer evening. It was nice at the time. But we then have police sirens and many other worldly triggers. Um, you know, people shouting, cars beeping, all these different things to take you off of the question that you've gone on. Because the moment you come off that question, it's as if you have gone against the ritual, and
I find
that's when you are then tested on how much you have left your ego behind.
I find the whole interdimensional much more fascinating than interplanetary,
Yeah.
intergalactical. Um,
For the fact that I've been interdimensional and I've not been to another planet.
there you go. There you go. I like that answer a lot.
It's that simple. But yet those that would rather ridicule me, and even though that they've never even attempted to lick a toad, yet that they would back up everything that they have with a belief.
Hmm. Eric Lapointe said, I believe that we have a hard time perceiving this basically because if you observe another dimension for too long, you forget which dimension you're in, and it can be
Absolutely.
very confusing for us. People have gotten lost.
I believe there are many people here with their brains on that other dimension already. And once they're there, they're either tricked to stay there because it's much easier on the body if they're in trauma.
Do you think that can explain some forms of
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's also triggered by the medicines that they have been given at that time as a prescribed note. It can be a lot easier to control someone when their mind is not their own.
Getting back to the tree of life.
Yeah.
Have you ever touched upon the Merkaba?
Well, there is a little secret that the tree of life was cut down. And it was cut down. And it was cut down by Noah. And he built the ark with it. And then the Christ was crucified on beams from Noah's. Now, don't forget, we're talking Christ as an algorithm. So it's all connected as the tree of life, which is the roots from underground which are hidden, to the tree branches which are visible. And they both mirror each other.
Right.
The canopy extends, the crown of the canopy, the tree's canopy will expand to the same distance the root area spreads to. It mirrors itself.
Adam had said that some people believe the Merkaba is a vessel which to travel other realms. And that was my thoughts, that the Merkaba was a mental construct in order to travel other realms.
Well, the secret was that the tree of life has transferred from one thing to another and then to another. It's gone from a knowledge of the tree, which is the tree of knowledge, to saving humanity in a boat, to then crucifying the Son of God. That's quite a big transformation.
Right. Do you think the Ark could have been a Merkaba?
Yeah. And the same thing, and the cross as well.
That's interesting.
Because
I like that.
the cross, not the cross that we see Jesus on, but it's the cross, nevertheless. The architect for human DNA is supposedly a cross which resembles the Knights Templars. It's the cross with the almost like it's like a Celtic cross where it's wider at the edges and it comes in. It's like 4 triangles together, but it's still a cross. A Celtic cross with equal lengths. Yes, exactly that. Now that is the archetype for human DNA.
Adam had said, from his understanding, and this was mine as well, using the sacred geometry of the uh, physical body, play activating specific points in the body and holding that as a thought form. And that
Yep.
creates the travel instrument.
Yep.
But I would
Now,
imagine
each part of the body has an archetype. Your arms, your legs, your head, and the organs inside. And you can ask to bring up the archetype of what it should be, not what it is, what it should be. And then you compare the archetype of what is. And you'll see it's distorted. So then you overlay what should be to what is. It's as simple as that. It takes minutes because it's visualization and intent.
yeah, you and I, like I said, talked about this before, that the possibilities of interdimensional travel far outweighs um, the possibility of even alien technology for that type of travel. But what can be done with the mind and the creation of a Merkaba, what can be done in other forms of interdimensional travel, like you said, is
Yeah.
almost instantaneous because
Yeah.
it's a thought.
It's there is nothing faster than thought. Even light isn't that fast.
Eric Point says, well, Adam had said everything has a center of a center of a center. So therefore, I would believe that everything has its own unique sacred platform or pattern. And Eric Point says, I don't believe you can go back in time and change something that you wish would never happened, but you can go to the dimension which it didn't happen and the way you may have wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't step backwards. I want to say that you can meet your future halfway. Which is the manifestation, which is the only way that you can change reality. But you can't go back and change anything in the previous. You can look back, which is what we call memories. We can reconcile. And we can change the way that we think about a memory from a long time ago, which can change the future. That's the only way of going back, is by changing it in here.
CC says time traveling forward is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. But never backwards. It's you're seeing the event that you are creating as long as you are moving in that direction, which is your intent again. And if your intent isn't there, you won't see that image.
Now, Adam says he firmly believes that you can change the outcome if historical events in the present. It's very difficult to untangle the effects of the past, but I believe it's 100% possible.
You can change the outcome if there's one event. you can change the outcome of the past.
CC believes that you're him in 10 years.
Best of luck with that.
Eric Point says, I like the perspective of thought as faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I like that too. And Coco believes that you can go back in time. It's just really bad.
No, I think that there is a moment where it's like an undeniable truth. We step forwards to seek the things that are unseen. As I say, once you see something, you can't unsee it. So it's always a forward motion. But it's not as I say, it's not a linear motion. It's a circular, repeating linear motion of a time loop that we have been, I want to say, trapped in. It was never like this. It was never like this. Something has happened to Earth in its past. And it's given each of us a very, very small piece of a bigger puzzle. And it needs all of us to get together to be able to understand what actually is this place. Now, that means everyone has got to stop fighting. Everyone's got to stop looking at each other as if they're the chosen ones. There is no ones. We are all one.
Well, I think you know my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I like Adam says, I think the speed of light is a mathematical convenience. It works well on paper. For all we know, that light could be instant scientifically. For what we know, light could be instantaneous.
Yeah, but we also know that light isn't constant. It is constant depending on what medium it's going through. You change the medium, it will change its speed. We know that through the Michael Morrison experiment, filling a telescope up with water, and you can see it's observable that the light refraction is bent with the speed of light.
Eric Point says it's hard to explain, but the past is happening at the same time as our future. This is not an answer. This is a thought.
The past is happening at the same time as our future. Yes, of course, everything is happening right this very second, this now. You know, we can have a concept, you know, we have an idea and we put it at the back of our heads, you know, and we will have that idea in the back of our heads until that moment of now when we go, hang on, I've had that for ages. Why haven't I gone and done that? And that's the realization that there is only now. You know, you can have all these thoughts logged in your brain, but if you don't act on it, that's what wisdom's all about. You could be the smartest guy that knows all these facts. But if you don't use them at the right time, what are they? They're just bits of facts. It's not a wise fact. It's not putting it into a different context than just repeating what you were told. It's the value of the fact itself.
Hey, I think I asked you this before. What do you know of the Philadelphia experiment?
Well, that again it's all about making the seen unseen. They were playing around with some very high frequencies, and yet again it's frequency and a vast amount of power as well.
Did them no good.
No. So it caused a rift. It's probably the best way to explain it. A rift which, for those that were here, made it invisible. But when it came back, the rift, when it collapsed, it put all of the sailors and the ship combined as one. So there was nothing the other side to stabilize what was of different material. It was just all the same molecules as matter. It just depending on where you were at the time of the rift, whether you were next to a wall or, if you were sitting down. But there was one guy that jumped off. He jumps off the boat as the rift happened, and he was in the water. Supposedly he got rescued. Supposedly he spent time in hospital. He was in the future. He asked for maps of America. The maps that he was shown, most of America was underwater.
Some people were horribly,
Yeah.
like turned inside
then,
out, or
which then puts me straight into, the carbonite of Han Solo.
no, right. That's what I had heard. Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize there was a movie about that. Manifesto
Yep.
said 1984 movie.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hidden. It's hidden for that specific reason. They made it a flop in real life, so it doesn't get attraction. But they have to tell you it's about the cabal. They have to tell you it's about
that's where
karma.
that's where I first read about it. Was actually and Kabbalah, uh, the Merkaba, as well as other than they were messing with that without the proper training or knowledge.
Mm.
Very similar to what the Nazis did in their study of the mysticism, especially some forms of tantric magic. They didn't know the forces they were dealing with.
No. Well, I also heard that there was a race that used 12 trumpets, and these are very long trumpets. And these trumpets are in a certain formation, and they're staggered, one in front of the other, and then one behind the other. So they're on different frequencies. And playing notes at the same time will levitate anything that's in the middle.
That's basically what CC is
Yeah.
talking about.
So then you have the temples, the flying temples. Have you come across those? No. I'm sure Manny in the chat will mention the name of the ancient Egypt, not Egyptian. It's the eastern, far eastern temples. Is it the Vimanas?
He says the Crystal City as well.
Vimanas, yeah, I was right.
Vimanas, yeah.
Vimanas. So we're talking. This is what they were saying. Old ancient aliens could possibly be these temples that were flying around. You know,
Right.
these ancient Vimanas. Yeah.
So, guys, you want to throw some more questions at it, Sniper, for 1 or 2 more questions?
Indeed, like the horns of Jericho. Indeed, the horns of Jericho. Yeah, alien ships on Hindu temple tops. Yeah, exactly. You know.
We talked a bit about the Dogon tribe and the
Right.
knowledge of the Syrians.
Oh,
The
the
knowledge,
Syrians.
not Syrians, Sirius,
Yeah.
Cyrus.
Yeah, Cyrus.
And
Yeah.
how they possibly could have gotten that knowledge. An unseen star system and an ancient African tribe, but they
Well,
had intricate maps.
yeah, yeah. Well, there are. I think it's Michael Tellinger. And if you come across his name, he is an amazing guy. But he's slipped his way into the Gaia ancient alien umbrella of Matt Hancock, of Graham Hancock,
Mhm.
and a few of those other. And he had some amazing earlier stuff before he was kind of picked up and is now handled by that lot. But he had some amazing things to say about the African tribes and their structures that they built. The circular buildings that they built was all interconnected. And the similarity of the Landscape lines in South America, where they have these huge aerial pictures that can only be seen from above of some amazing animals. They also too can be seen from the floors in Africa. Yep, Jordan Maxwell.
Manifesto says, I believe that there was planets, but it's not a space travel. It's a Stargate portal travel type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a lot of this a long time ago. Bob Frizzle. Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly the way things are. And a couple sequels that he wrote to that. Really interesting stuff.
Well, look, of course, you know that we're governed by the planets. Here we go. I've said the word planets, but you know they are They are just an energy of a certain frequency which can manipulate us if we are not aware. And it can lead us into all kinds of trouble, as if we're playing out a story that we didn't write. But the moment you realize that you write your own story, you step away from the subconscious strings that are pulling you with the planetary energies that are going on. Now you can hear a lot of people say, "Oh, Mars is in, you know, my square to the moon." So it should, yeah, go on.
I was just going to read Manifestor's comment
Mm,
about
what's that?
Mr. Henry. When he told Mr. Henry that I thought he was working for the devil, he got cold feet. And Miles didn't like it when I showed him the power station portal wormholes. I'm too real. I'm too real to be locked.
Well,
You know who they are?
yeah, Miles Johnson. He's an investigator that used to work for the BBC on a pirate radio station, Radio Caroline.
Hmm.
And he has been put in charge of getting together anyone that speaks out, either white hats or... Am I still on? There you go. Miles is in charge of getting together anyone that has seen any information and is being woken up by the information that they're listening to, and that they have recalled memory of either a past life or some kind of gift, I should say. So Miles gets you together and he kind of goes through what he wants to put out to the people. He's very good at manipulating what you want to say and keeping a narrative behind everything that you say. There's a lot of, I'd say 80-20, the rule again, 80-20. I think 80% of the work that comes through Miles is the real deal. But it's the 20% that if you are slightly skeptic in the slightest way, you'll ridicule the rest of the 80.
Hmm.
But the people that are with the 80%, they watch this 20%. And depending on how good their discernment is, they will either think that, it is possible, which is no skin off their nose because they're still listening to the information. But it's the people that have just come to the awakening and are still skeptical, he is designed to turn you away instantly, even just within a few sentences of what he says. Even that, when I go back onto looking at him now, he has a very clever way of being very sarcastic, in the sense of you can use sarcastic in an investigated way because it's a new subject. It won't come across sarcastic to anyone that's interested, but those that aren't really interested and just want to have a look will take it as sarcasm straight away. And that will then automatically ridicule whatever comes out of his mouth.
No way for a dialogue.
No. And he can turn an interview off instantly if you say the wrong question. And that's happened many times. Many times. He'll change the subjects and lead you on to things that he will want when he realizes that, you're starting to say this and starting to say that a little bit more, But that's what gatekeepers do. They have to put out 80% of the good stuff to get you involved with it. But then they mix in the other 20%, which can be harmful to the rest of the 80%. Either slanderous, or it mixes the mud, with the truth.
Right. Cece says he's talking about my ego.
Wow.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap things up, Sniper.
Yeah,
So
great.
what do you think this format?
Yeah, no, it's good. We'd have to do it again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know you said you were switched subjects twice.
Yeah. I was going to go back onto the Soul of the White Ant. I've been dying to go through that. And I was going to go do the dowsing as well. There's it opens up a whole rabbit hole with the dowsing. You can spend a whole hour just talking about one thing. I think that what needs to be done. I think we could do that. Break it down in a little bit.
It's your show. Whatever you want to do. Eric says, interesting. Heard ospreys are 80% accurate on catching fish, if this relates.
Well, I bet 80% of Eric's trees are absolutely perfect.
Probably.
The 20 will have rabbits chewing on them, deers chewing on them, but then that's the sacrifice that we get for the 80. It's the natural thing.
I think about that with the beavers, because I look at some of the trees that have been falling, and neighbors are complaining. But
well, they'll fell 80% of them, and they'll collect the rest of the 20.
Manifestor,
or is it the other way around? Do they collect 80% of the fallen wood, and do they only fell 20%?
Interesting.
It's like 20% of the room. We will do 80% of the walking.
You have to think of that one. Manifestor is live now. If anyone wants to hop over.
Yeah, I'll nip over there in a bit.
All right. So the link for Manifestor, right below there. Go on over and hang out. And for everyone else, I'll see you at 5 in the morning if you're around. We got a guest tomorrow at 5:25 talking meditation and A Course in Miracles separately and together. So that should be interesting.
Cool.
Thank you, Manifestor. Thanks for being here, guys. Very much
Yep,
appreciated.
right.
This was a big thing. I think people really enjoyed. Hey, Dan. The vast topics that they could throw at you.
Well, just throw a question at me and I'll try and answer it.
Yep.
If not, I'll diverse it in such a good way.
CC says, great conversation, Sniper. It was. Eric Point says, another great live. Thumbs up. All right. It was Sniper and the questions that you asked that made it such a great live. And it really was.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Cheers, guys.
So, see you, Dan. We're taking off.
Morning.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Take care.